This video is brought to you by the best Switch 2 case money can buy, the D-brand Kill Switch. I would never dream of using my Switch 2 in handheld mode without the Kill Switch, since it massively improves ergonomics, provides heaps of protection, and it even has a snazzy dock that makes your Switch 2 look like a bit of a statement piece. You can get up to $35 off when you click the link below, so stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Last week I told you that I visited Nintendo HQ to play 4 upcoming games: Mario Tennis Fever, the Virtual Boy lineup thingy, Resident Evil, Requiem, and Pragmata. But you were all of you deceived, for there was another game, and it was a Pokemon game, namely Pokemon Pokopia, the cozy game Animal Crossing-esque thing that was revealed a little while ago. Now, as you watch this preview, I think it's important to understand who I am and what I like. My relationship to Pokemon games is not an affectionate one. I kind of think that modern day Pokemon iterations have not been keeping pace with contemporary game design or contemporary presentation or contemporary anything really. I recently previewed Pokemon ZA and I was like, okay, the combat is interesting and it's definitely better, but is this really the best that Game Freak can do in 2025? I didn't end up reviewing that game because honestly, I just didn't want to play any more of it after that preview. So I'm not a Pokemon person, but I always want to be because, you know, I like Monster Hunter stories and I love Temtem. The whole creature collecting genre is inherently appealing, but modern day Pokemon just isn't. And I know I'm not alone in that regard. Secondly, you have to understand that I don't particularly enjoy cozy games. And I actually really dislike Animal Crossing. I actually went back to play some of it after this preview just to see if my brain had changed, but within like the first 30 minutes I was dying under the weight of the suffocating UI where you need to open up a menu to do absolutely anything, and anytime you do anything it gives you like 3 more useless UI prompts retelling the same joke about the same fish that you've already caught 400 times before. I just can't handle it. So you can imagine how I'm feeling when I'm at this Nintendo event and the PR person hands me a controller for Pokemon Pokopia. I mean, to be honest, I was there to play Resident Evil and Pragmata and Mario Tennis, but this was part of the schedule, so I was like, okay, let's just get through this. Imagine my shock then, when after roughly 2 hours of playing Pokemon Pokopia, when the Nintendo rep came around to like take the controller off me, I was like, could I play some more of this, please? I don't want to oversell it because 2 hours with a game like this really isn't much time, but 2 hours with Pokemon ZA made me go, okay, I don't need to play any more of this. And 30 minutes with Animal Crossing made me feel the exact same way. But, you know, 2 hours with Pokemon Pokopia, and I was like, yeah, I would love to play some more of this, actually. This is hidden in ways that I never could have really expected. So it turns out that pretty much all of my expectations for Pokemon Pokopia were wrong going into this preview session, so allow me to set the right expectations for you. First of all, this thing is actually not being developed by Game Freak or any other first-party Nintendo studio. Instead, it's being developed by Omega Force, a Koei Tecmo studio. You probably know them best for the Dynasty Warriors games, and you're kind of like, why are they making this? But let's take a look at what else they've made. They made the Hyrule Warriors series, which is an obvious one, a sales blockbuster to the point where Age of Calamity is actually the best-selling game in the entire Warriors catalog. Persona 5 Strikers. Now, this is actually a really fantastic spin-off that remixed the Persona formula to terrific effect with real-time-esque combat that still kept the sort of turn-based stuff in view. They also made the criminally under-supported Wild Hearts, a game that deserved so much more support than EA dared to give it. And most notably for this preview, Omega Force made Dragon Quest Builders 2, taking over the development of the franchise after Square Enix did the first one. Builders 2 went on to sell over 1 million units, and it sits at a mighty 85 on OpenCritic, 92% very positive on Steam. A great, clever game that was much more Minecraft than it was Animal Crossing, but its impact on Pokemon Pokopia is pretty obvious when you look at the terrain manipulation stuff, which we'll certainly come back to. Point of all this is to say that a really good studio is behind this game, so we shouldn't be at all surprised when they end up making a great game. Secondly, this is definitely not like just Animal Crossing with a Pokemon skin, and honestly, that was my worst fear when Pokemon Pokopia was revealed. You could imagine that it would be super easy just to take the Animal Crossing formula and, you know, make your neighbors the Pokemon, and you just do standard cozy game stuff, and like that's it. Like if Nintendo were to make that game, it would still sell like 10 million copies. And to be clear, there are still some familiar loops here in Pokemon Pokopia. You're still collecting rocks and clearing land so you can plant and water flowers. All that stuff is there, right? But that's not all that's there. And indeed, the way this game allows you to complete those familiar loops is really novel, and it perfectly fits with the Pokemon universe, and it also feels far less laborious than the genre can feel. But in order to fully explain all of that, I think we have to start at the very beginning. Pokemon Pokopia is kind of grim for a Pokemon game, actually. All of the humans are dead, or if they aren't dead, they certainly haven't shown themselves in a long-ass time. Many of the Pokemon that you meet all nurse memories of the trainers they encountered in the before times, and they're all like, ah yes, when the humans were still here, they used to build things like these. And it's like a Poke Center or whatever. The setup is actually kind of cool for a Pokemon game. I'm sort of into it. The way things are sometimes phrased hints that maybe the humans are alive, so it'll be interesting to see if the story kind of blooms into the triumphant return of the humans, so the Pokemon can eventually be returned to slavery and forced to fight one another for human profit and enjoyment. Anyway, the setup is that you are a Ditto, a Pokemon type that can copy other Pokemon, and you can do that, but firstly, you copy the memory of your human. That's what this character creator is. It's literally the Ditto trying to remember what their human looked like, but they get it wrong, which is why the human is so weird looking, and sometimes they have weird moments, but I'll let you discover those for yourself. So as far as I can tell, there's essentially two main loops to Pokemon Pokopia. Unlocking Pokemon so you can hang out with them and steal their abilities, and creating your perfect Poke Paradise by terraforming the landscape and building cool stuff on it. Let's talk about the Pokemon stuff first, because I think that's the most interesting part. I didn't know how Pokemon Pokopia was going to handle the whole Pokemon collecting thing, but whatever I thought it might be, I definitely wasn't expecting it to be this. So here's how it works. As soon as you start playing, you'll begin encountering Pokemon traces, which are little things laying on the ground that hint at how you can lure a Pokemon to come and live on your little island paradise thingy. Those traces will reveal a Pokemon's ideal habitat, which is a collection of things placed in a very specific order. So for example, 6 tall grass next to each other is what you need to drop for a Charmander to appear, while a grouping of 6 flowers will call a Pidgey to appear, and a different layout to those same 6 flowers will cause a Combee to appear. It's kind of cool actually, and it's not just plants, by the way. There's one habitat which involves a bench and a punching bag, so I imagine that the habitats will only get wilder as time goes on. So anyway, you build these habitats, and after a while, a Pokemon appears. At this point, you add them to your Pokedex thingy, and there are a few ways to interact with them after that. Some of them have abilities that they can use when you ask them to. Like in the case of Charmander, you can ask him to follow you, and when you're nearby an unlit campfire, he will light it for you. Very Power World, very nice. But it goes much, much further than that. I only got a taste of this at the back end of the demo, but later on, you'll be able to transform into other Pokemon, allowing you to, glide over distances or swim effortlessly through large bodies of water. Again, very nice and very convenient too, since it really is just one press of a button and you'll instantly transform. Quality of life and seamless user experience is a big part of why I enjoyed this as much as I did, but we will come back to that. For now, let's talk about the third way that these Pokemon abilities manifest themselves, and that's as tools you can use to transform the environment around you. So some of these Pokemon will actually teach you abilities that you, as a Ditto, can just use whenever you feel like it. You don't transform your whole self when doing this, you just use your limbs or whatever, but they let you do things like water plants. Or cut wooden objects. You can till the earth at a terrifying speed. You can summon foliage like a druid. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you can smash rocks. Doesn't take too much imagination to see where all of these abilities lead. It's all this stuff that lets you terraform your environment considerably. Not without restriction, I think. I don't believe this is like true voxel where you can build or destroy whatever you like, but you do have a fair amount of flexibility, and it can result in some really nice outcomes, like this repaved area with a new set of stairs. Or like this cleared waterway, which provides irrigation to a nearby fountain and the surrounding greenery. This part's really nice, actually. And what's really great about everything I've described to this point is how effortless the user experience and UI is. And it's one of the biggest reasons that I enjoyed this. And I only figured this out after I went home and played some more Animal Crossing, because I was like, okay, I really enjoyed Pokopia. Is it because something changed inside me and my brain is now ready for the opioid-like humdrummery of cozy farming sim games? The 30 minutes with Animal Crossing made me realize just how weighed down that experience is by its menus, and I went on to play another couple of hours after that, and it just got worse as each new NPC I would meet would find new inventive ways to bring up dialogue boxes that I didn't need to read and that I'd already read dozens of times before. It was just, I couldn't handle any more of it. I had to turn it off. In contrast, Pokopia is always asking, how can we make this faster, more immediate, more seamless? Want a Pokemon to follow you to do something? You don't need to go through like 3 dialogue boxes and 2 prompts to do that. Just press up on the D-pad near them and they'll follow you. Simple as that. Want to switch from your water cannon to your woodcutter and then to your rock smasher? It's all right there on the D-pad. It's super effortless. Just scroll through it all. Want to instantly transform into a Pokemon so you can glide or swim? There's a button for that too. Hell, there's even an inhale feature that lets you automatically pick up everything nearby, and I swear to God, I refuse to play any cozy sim game that doesn't adopt this feature in the future. So that's the Pokemon and their abilities, but there's this whole other side to the game too, and that's the crafting. Admittedly, I didn't get too much time with this, as most of my time was spent unlocking new Pokemon, but yeah, you can craft furniture and build buildings and make food and all that sort of stuff that you expect in these sorts of games. Your path toward these recipes is often in the form of quests given to you by the Pokemon, and a lot of that revolves around increasing the comfort level of their habitats. So first, I build a nice little patch of tall grass that a Charmander might appear in, but then I can decorate it with comfy things that he likes, and I assume that's what triggers his evolution, but don't quote me on that since I never saw any actual evolutions happen in the demo. But you can also build things just for fun, and the B-roll I got sent had some very brief shots of some very elaborately designed spaces, all of which I assume had been built by players. What else? Well, you can take nice selfies with your Pokemon. That's kind of cool for people who are into it. Also multiplayer, 4-player lobbies where everyone is able to just, hang out and build stuff and just live that pokey life. Sounds nice and relaxing. Also supports game share, by the way, so that multiple people can play on the one island, and all you need is 1 copy of the game, and up to 3 other people can actually play on Switch 1 devices, even though Pokopia is a Switch 2 exclusive. It's a really nice feature, and it's cool to see Nintendo leaning into that this generation. So look, the TLDR, I walked into this not at all interested, frankly, kind of fearing the worst, because Animal Crossing plus Pokemon is just a very unappealing pitch to me personally. But after nearly 2 hours of it, I would honestly happily play more. Again, I'm not saying that I loved this or it's on my most anticipated game list or anything, but I was really pleasantly surprised by what this actually was, because this is not Animal Crossing at all. This is way more interesting, to be honest. The way you build habitats for Pokemon to attract them is cool. The way you use their abilities to terraform the landscape is cool. The way you build items to increase the comfort level of your Pokemon is cool. The seamless user experience and the UI is extremely cool, given that this genre can often feel very painful and laborious. I will conclude by saying this. Pokemon Pokopia feels a lot more modern than I expected it to. Honestly, when I come into Pokemon stuff these days, it just kind of feels very dated, from its visuals to its gameplay loops to its UI to everything. It didn't feel like that. I think it's way too early to judge how this will end up feeling, but right off the jump, it definitely doesn't feel dated. It feels playful and novel and, yeah, interesting, to the point where if Nintendo offered me a review code for this, I would review it because I genuinely want to play more of it. So if that does happen, do look forward to a full review at or near the release date on March 5th. Oh, by the way, if you are planning on picking up Pokemon Pokopia or any other Switch 2 game for that matter, then there's one essential add-on that I really couldn't recommend more highly, and it's a kill switch case from this video sponsor, dbrand. dbrand's Kill Switch is pretty much the only must-purchase add-on for the Switch 2, and I'm not exaggerating. The Kill Switch is a case that not only protects your Switch with a durable travel cover that provides over 100 pounds of crush-proof protection while in transit, and not only is there an option for a game card storage solution that slots into that protective cover, but it also adds ergonomic grips for the Switch 2, taking it from being a device that gave me literal hand cramps to one that I just love picking up now because it's just so comfortable to hold for prolonged play sessions. Oh, but cases like this don't let you detach the Joy-Cons, you say? Well, bam, see? Detached. It's almost like dbrand knew you were going to say that. The back of the Kill Switch is made from a really sturdy material that will protect it from scratches, and it even comes with a cover made specifically for the kickstand, so that won't get scratched either. But wait, there's more. Kill Switch Travel and Ultra package comes with stick grips, which are a significant glow up, providing much more tactile texture and height. The optional screen protector comes with an idiot-proof installation tool that not even I could mess up, and I've never once been able to successfully apply a screen protector to any product before this. There's also optional skins that let you customize the look of your kill switch, but here's my favorite part. Every single kill switch comes with a dock adapter that lets you dock your Switch 2 while it's in its kill switch case, and in fact the adapter makes the Switch 2 look cooler because it becomes this sort of display item. I really love it. Ever since dbrand launched the kill switch case for the Steam Deck, I've had one of these and I would never dream of taking it off. But the Switch 2 case is honestly dbrand's best work. It's just an unmissable add-on. So if you want to grab one, then be sure to head over to dbrand.com/skillup. And if you do that, you can save $20 on the travel package and $35 on the Ultra package. But like I said, only if you click that link in the description below. That's dbrand.com/skillup for the best Switch 2 case money can buy at a very reasonable price. Thank you, dbrand, for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.